Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to start by thanking Leader Donio, Leader Durkin, and the entire members of the Republican caucus. They've done an outstanding job of standing up firmly on behalf of taxpayers for the state of Illinois. They have also stood up firmly for school children and their parents, homeowners, and the most vulnerable in our state. We faced a crisis when the supermajority left the end of May without passing any budget whatsoever. With no budget, obviously very dire circumstances come July 1st, road construction ending, many human services potentially going without any support, and the very grave risk of schools not opening in August and September. That would just be an unacceptable failure on behalf of the people of Illinois. Thank you to Leader Durkin, Leader Radonio, the Republican caucus for standing firm and coming now to a grand bargain, a grand compromise to get us through this crisis. I would also like to say personally a thank you to President Cullerton for some flexibility and creativity in the negotiations. I would also compliment Mayor Emanuel for some flexibility and some creativity on his part. And the Democratic caucus has been willing to compromise, and we thank them for their efforts in that regard. Let's be clear. This is just a small step in the process of making Illinois strong and healthy and vibrant. This is a small step in the right direction. This is not a budget. This is not a balanced budget. This is not a solution to our long-term challenges. This is a bridge to reform. That's what this is. This is a bridge to reform, a bipartisan bridge to reform. And the reason it was able to come together is both sides expressed willingness to negotiate further around reforms and truly balanced budgets. The Democratic leaders made it clear in recent weeks that they would not want to take any votes on balanced budgets or reforms prior to the November election, but that after the November election, there was a very distinct possibility of that. That sentiment, that expression of the possibility of reforms and a true balanced budget, ending the days that we've had for years in Illinois of unbalanced budgets and kicking the can on pensions and borrowing and not paying our bills, the willingness to actually stand up to that right after the election during the lame duck session allowed us to come together to build a bridge to get to that outcome. In this compromise, schools can open on time, and the vast majority of school districts and schools will receive more money, an affordable amount of more money. And frankly, in Illinois, our schools deserve more money from the state. This is good public policy. Schools, first priority. Also, essential government services for our most vulnerable, human services for the families most in need, our veterans, our developmentally disabled, those who are most vulnerable. The services can continue through January. Essential that we do that. Likewise, essential government services for public safety, for corrections, for public health, and services that people of Illinois depend on every day, day in, day out. Those can continue to be provided at an acceptable level, basic level, through January. Very important. And then finally, I don't want to leave out the essence of construction. We need road construction and maintenance of our infrastructure in order to keep our economy competitive and have the opportunity to grow in the future. This bridge spending plan allows us to do that. The goal is to get us till after the election in November, and then between November and January, come up with a bipartisan grand compromise that will truly balance our budgets and get reforms to grow the economy, protect our taxpayers, provide sufficient resources so we can develop the best schools in America in every school district, not just in some, and also reform our political system and our process here. Clearly, we need reforms. We've been going down the wrong road, a gradual, slow decline in Illinois for years and years. with deficits, debt, jobs leaving, lower family incomes, higher property taxes, defunded schools too many times over the last 10 years, and a political system that's not really responsive to the voters and the taxpayers. Our efforts will never cease to change that. We need fundamental reform to change that direction. I believe, and I firmly hope, that right now we've hit the bottom. This is the low point in the evolution of Illinois. And now we begin to move up. Growth, value for taxpayers, better schools, and a political system that is responsive and actually making good decisions for the long-term health of the state. Not just short-term decisions, long-term health of the state. This bridge is an important trust-building, relationship-building part of the process. I'm pleased with the result, but it is not the long-term solution. This purely gives us the opportunity to come together in the next months and come to a solution that really restores the growth, protects our taxpayers, and properly funds our schools and human services.